students, this is 11th class biology chapter 13 photosynthesis in higher plants, and this is lecture number 3 of this chapter. Topics that we will discuss today are non-cyclic photophosphorylation and cyclic photophosphorylation, and after that we will discuss about chemiosmotic hypothesis. This Z scheme of light reaction that you have done in previous lecture, this is representing non-cyclic photophosphorylation. How it is non-cyclic photophosphorylation? Because you can see in it, first of all, electrons are excited from here, means from photosystem 2. Okay, and then these electrons are transported through electron transport system and are moving to photosystem 1, right? And these electrons never come back to photosystem 2. So this is not cyclic. This is called non-cyclic because electrons excited from photosystem 2 never come back to photosystem 2. These electrons are moving like this, okay, and finally leads to the formation of NADPH. So it is non-cyclic photophosphorylation because ATP formation is occurring here by non-cyclic flow of electrons. So if we talk about non-cyclic photophosphorylation, it occurs when two photosystems work in a series. First photosystem 2 and then photosystem 1, because electrons are first excited from photosystem 2, right? And these photosystem work in a series through an electron transport chain as seen in the Z scheme. Here ATP and NADPH are synthesized. And it is a non-cyclic process because the electrons lost by photosystem 2 do not come back to it but pass on to NADP plus for the formation of NADPH, right? So it is non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Next is about cyclic photophosphorylation, and in this, electrons excited from photosystem 1 comes back to photosystem 1, as you can see here. First of all, light of 700 nanometer is absorbed by this photosystem 1. Okay, as you can see, these photons are coming here on photosystem 1, and electron excited from here is moving through electron transport system and then is coming back to the photosystem 1, and here ATP production is occurring. So because the electron excited from photosystem 1 is coming back to photosystem 1, it is cyclic photophosphorylation. So cyclic photophosphorylation occur in stromal lamellae. Stromal lamellae which connect different grana with each other, and when only photosystem 1 is functional. Okay, so this cyclic photophosphorylation occur only when only photosystem 1 is working, because if photosystem 2 will also work, then non-cyclic photophosphorylation occur, because first the electron will get excited from photosystem 2 at that time. The electron is circulated within photosystem and ATP synthesis occurs due to cyclic flow of electrons here. The lamellae of grana have photosystem 1 and photosystem 2. The stroma lamellae membranes lack photosystem 2. Okay, stroma lamellae membranes, membranes of lamellae, these lack photosystem 2, and also NADP reductase is not present in these membrane. That's why in these stromal lamellae membrane only photosystem 1 works. The electron does not pass on to NADP plus but is cycled back to photosystem 1 through electron transport chain. Here only ATP is synthesized because NADP reductase is absent, right? So only ATP is synthesized here. Cyclic photophosphorylation also occurs when only light of wavelength beyond 680 nanometer are available, means when 700 nanometer light is available, at that time cyclic photophosphorylation occur. Now next topic is chemiosmotic hypothesis, and this hypothesis explains mechanism of ATP synthesis in chloroplast. As we have discussed about ATP synthesis during electron transport chain, but how actually these ATPs are synthesized, so that we will discuss according to chemiosmotic hypothesis. So here word chemiosmotic is representing chemiosmosis, and chemiosmosis means movement of ions across a semi-permeable membrane. So when ions are transported through a semi-permeable membrane, that process is called chemiosmosis, and it occurs in chloroplast and mitochondria. So in both in chloroplast and mitochondria, this ATP formation occurs, synthesis of ATP occurs according to chemiosmotic hypothesis. Now chemiosmosis, this process means movement of ions across a semi-permeable membrane, needs a membrane, obviously a semi-permeable, because movement of ions is occurring across the semi-permeable membrane, so it needs a membrane. A proton pump for the transportation of protons, a proton gradient across the thylakoid membranes. So gradient means on one side of membrane concentration of proton is more, and on one side concentration of protons is less. That will be called concentration gradient of proton, or proton gradient you can say. And where this proton gradient is formed? Across the thylakoid membranes, where these thylakoids are present inside the chloroplast. Okay, so, and we are talking about the ATP synthesis inside the chloroplast. So this proton gradient formation is occurring across the thylakoid membrane. And one more thing that we need here for the chemiosmosis is ATP synthase. This is an enzyme for the ATP synthesis. So here splitting of water, as we discussed during the light reaction, water splitting reaction occurs. So that water splitting reaction occurs on the inner side of the membrane, on the inner side of thylakoid membrane. Okay, so the protons accumulate in the lumen of thylakoid, means on the inner side of the thylakoid. These protons which are released during the water splitting, those protons will accumulate inside the lumen of thylakoid. With the help of this diagram, you can understand that how ATP is synthesized according to chemiosmotic hypothesis. Okay, so for chemiosmosis we need a semi-permeable membrane first of all. So this thylakoid membrane is acting as a semi-permeable membrane here. Okay, this complete structure is a thylakoid which is present inside the chloroplast. Okay, and what is this part? This is lumen of thylakoid, and on the outer side of thylakoid, you know, inside the chloroplast stroma as a fluid is present. Okay, so this thylakoid is also present inside the chloroplast. So this stroma is present on the outer side of thylakoid, right? So this is luminal side and this is stromal side, and this is thylakoid membrane which is acting as a semi-permeable membrane. Second thing that we need here is a proton gradient, and how this proton gradient is developed now, that we need to understand. So there are three main reasons due to which proton gradient is developed. Out of these three reasons, first is splitting of water. You know, at the time of splitting of water molecule, protons are produced, means these 2H plus ions we obtain after splitting of one molecule of water along with electrons, right, and along with one nascent oxygen. So this splitting of water is occurring inside the lumen of thylakoid. Okay, that's why the protons which are formed here, these protons will accumulate inside the lumen only, right? That's why these protons are accumulating inside the lumen. So concentration of proton is becoming more inside the lumen of this thylakoid, right? Now second reason, Second reason is that this photosystem, you can see here in the thylakoid membrane, photosystem 2 which is present. This photosystem, from this photosystem 2, you know, one electron is excited. Okay, electron is excited from here, and it is accepted by one electron acceptor, and that electron acceptor gives it to next electron acceptor. So it is moving through an electron transport chain, and all the molecules which are part of electron transport chain, those are actually proton carriers. Okay, means these are H plus carriers, not electron carriers. Okay, those are not electron carriers, those are proton carriers. So what happened? These proton carriers are carrying electron also. So along with that electron, these proton carriers will take up that proton also from the outer side, means from the stromal side. These proton carriers will take one proton along with the electron they are carrying. That's why when this electron will be released on the lumen side, along with that one proton will also be released on the lumen side. Then this electron will be transported to the photosystem 1, but that proton will be released here on the lumen side only, right? And that is also a reason that proton are going to accumulate inside the lumen, but their concentration becomes less on the outer side, because every time for the transportation of electron, these proton carriers are carrying one proton also from the stromal side to the lumen side, right? So this is second reason for the accumulation of protons inside the lumen. And proton concentration is continuously increasing inside the lumen in comparison to that of on the outer side of the membrane, means on the stromal side proton concentration is less. Okay, so third reason is that you can see here this photosystem 1. Okay, and here NADPH is formed. Okay, and formation of this NADPH, you can see here this is forming from NADP plus. So this also need an H plus. Okay, H plus is required here also for the formation of NADPH. The enzyme which is helping here for the formation of NADPH from NADP plus is called NADP reductase enzyme. Okay, and that reductase enzyme needs H plus. So obviously, because it is present on the outer side, so from where that enzyme will use that H plus? From the outer side, means from the stromal side, from the outer side of this thylakoid, you can say. Okay, so again on the outer side H plus concentration will decrease. Okay, it means a proton gradient will develop continuously. On the inner side proton concentration is increasing, means H plus ion concentration is increasing, but on outer side it is decreasing. So what happened? Due to these three reasons, proton gradient is developed. Okay, now what happened due to this proton gradient? Third thing that we need here for the chemiosmosis is ATP synthase. So this is the ATP synthase, means the enzyme for the synthesis of ATP. Now how this proton gradient is helpful for the formation of ATP? What happened now? Proton concentration is more on inner side of the thylakoid and less on the outer side of thylakoid, right? Now these protons will move from higher concentration to lower concentration, means along the concentration gradient these will move, these will be transported, and these will be transported through this ATP synthase. Okay, this ATP synthase present here is having two parts, F naught as you can see here and F1. So this part is F1 and this is F naught. So F naught part of this ATP synthase acts as a channel. Channel means through which ions can move, right? So protons will move through it. and this part F1, it will change its conformation. So its shape will be changed when the protons will move through F naught. Okay, so its conformation will be changed, and it will work to convert ADP into ATP. Okay, so ATP is synthesized here due to movement of these protons through the ATP synthase enzyme. Right? How it happened? When the protons move across F naught channel of the ATP synthase, it leads to the conformational change in F1, which leads to the formation of ATP. That's why these ATP are synthesized here, and this is the chemiosmotic hypothesis of ATP formation. This is your homework for today. First question, differentiate cyclic and non-cyclic photophosphorylation. Also make flowcharts for both. Second question, describe chemiosmotic hypothesis for ATP production. Now let's discuss homework solution of previous lecture. This is question number 5 of NCERT. Suppose there were plants that had a high concentration of chlorophyll B but lacked a chlorophyll A. Would it carry out photosynthesis? Then why do plants have chlorophyll B and other accessory pigments? So obviously if chlorophyll A is not present in any plant, it will not carry out photosynthesis because chlorophyll A is reaction center, which is responsible for the conversion of solar energy into chemical energy. Okay, you know from the chlorophyll A only the first electron is excited, right? Although chlorophyll A is the primary pigment that traps sunlight, but accessory pigments like chlorophyll B, xanthophylls and carotenoids also absorb sunlight and transfer energy to chlorophyll A. That's why these accessory pigments are also present in the plant. This is question number 6 of NCERT. Why is color of a leaf capped in the dark frequently yellow or pale green? Which pigment do you think is more stable? So answer is chlorophyll fails to absorb the energy in the absence of light, right? Chlorophyll get the wavelength of sunlight, absorb the energy from those. Hence it loses stability to give the leaf yellow coloration in the absence of sunlight, right? This proves that carotenoids which are responsible for yellow color, okay, which imparts yellow color, these are more stable. This is question number 7 of NCERT. So look at the leaves of same plant on the shady side and compare it with the leaves on sunny side. Or you can compare the potted plants kept in the sunlight with those in the shade. Which of them has leaves that are darker green in color and why? So leaves in the shade get less sunlight to carry out photosynthesis, right? Inside the shade there will be less sunlight available, and that's why in these leaves more chlorophyll will be present to carry out photosynthesis efficiently, okay, because these are getting less sunlight, but these need to carry out photosynthesis efficiently. That's why in these leaves number of chlorophyll is more. In presence of strong light, orientation of chloroplast in the mesophyll cells is irregular and in vertical files along the walls. Okay, so this is the arrangement of the chloroplast. Chloroplast can take different position inside the mesophyll cells of the leaves according to the incident light. Okay, if there is more light available, strong light available, at that time chloroplast orientation is irregular in leaves. And also one more thing, in bright light photooxidation of chloroplast occur, which leads to damage of chloroplast. Okay, hence plant kept in shade have dark green leaves due to high concentration of chlorophyll, right? So plants which are kept in shade having more number of chlorophyll, while which are kept in strong sunlight have less number of chlorophyll.